Hello and welcome back to Bobbin's Minecraft Let's Play, featuring the Hoarder's Delight mod pack by Nicole BW. I'm Bobbin and you're watching episode 4. Since the last episode, I had a nasty scare. I had a power outage, and unfortunately, when I tried to load the world back up, it didn't load back up. So I had to do some recovery work. I have recovered it and it has worked just fine. The thing that I've changed about that, though, is that I have gone ahead and added an additional mod to the mod pack to deal with this specific scenario. I've added the aroma backup mod so that I'll have a backup every hour. One thing you may notice on occasion is that I will get a message that tells me when the world backs up, and that is different from what you will have if you are also running this mod pack. I'm just letting you know so you're aware. I haven't added anything else to the mod pack. Also, since the last episode, I have updated this machinery that I set up in the last episode. I meant to add this cache here to collect my excess cobblestone. I did go ahead and add it. I have also converted the machinery to sifting gravel now instead of dust because I found that I needed emeralds. There is a recipe in this mod pack for you to make ender pearls on peaceful, but it requires 4 emeralds, and in order to get those 4 emeralds I needed to grind some gravel, so I have switched this over to grinding gravel. I also added some caches over here to catch excess gravel and excess dust, because I did notice that I was accumulating excess dust. This system also has a significant problem. I'm not going to fix it right now, but I am going to mention it because it's the sort of thing that I'll have to deal with in my permanent base. I'll want to avoid. There is simply not enough lava being generated by these crucibles to fuel 2 dynamos, and as a consequence, these machines are not running at full power. When I get my full base set up, I will have to spend a lot of time addressing bottlenecks like that to get everything working properly. The other thing that I've been doing since the last episode is I have been working on Minicio, which are these crops right here. I replaced all of the crops that I had planted here before with Minicio and have been growing a great deal of it. And the reason I've needed so much is I've been working on some seeds that I will be using to create some of the materials that are going to be involved in completing the quests in the quest journal. Nature seeds, dye seeds, redstone, glowstone, pig, chicken, cow, skeleton, slime, and enderman so far. There will be a lot of additional seeds that get done, but they require a lot of this essence, and so it may take a little while to get them all. One of the first crops I'm going to automate is in fact Minicio. Let's go ahead and finish a couple of quests for this episode. The first one I'd like to finish today is Sand Everywhere, which gives a nice builder's wand. One of the reasons I want to go ahead and finish this one right now is because I can use the builder's wand to build my new factory, which I plan on starting on in this episode. So we now have the builder's wand. The builder's wand is a wand that places block up to 9 at a time, and it essentially extends walls or surfaces that are already in place. It makes for very fast building and saves just a ton of time on building a large structure. The other one I'm going to finish today is Timber, which requires 128 oak wood. I broke my diamond pick some time ago. I've been having trouble with all of these dark oak trees. They produce a lot of wood. I have like 3/4 of a barrel of it here. But they don't produce that many saplings, and I need 128 saplings. So I have been having to make new axes. The unbreakable axe that is the reward for this quest will be very helpful. And now I have it. Let's replace that. Put that away. Now, as I mentioned, what I want to work on in this episode is I want to work on my new base. And I have scouted out a location, which is over here. And as usual, it is raining in dark, because it's always raining in dark in Bobbin's world. So as soon as I get across the water, I'm going to sleep and get rid of that. and it will return at the very next nightfall probably. So I picked a location in the desert so that I won't get rained on, even though it will still get dark. And it's fairly close to where my base is. But what I'm going to do here is I want to build a factory that can be expanded in several directions. And so I'm going to build kind of an unusual building. It's actually only going to have a facade on one side. There are going to be no walls on the other three sides of this building, and it's not going to have a defined roof. I can continue to grow it up. One of the things about building an unconstrained building like that is that if you build it at ground level, you're going to always be clearing out blocks that are in the way, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to build this building up in the air, and I'll use elevators to get up and down from it, but it's probably going to start at about 80 blocks with a basement that's going to have all the power generation in it. Then it will have floors for the various production that can basically, and I'll be able to expand it up, and I'll be able to expand it out in three different directions, and then facing the building going out that way, I will have my crop fields. So I'm going to get started on that, and I will be back as soon as I have some progress on it. I'm back, and I can see my base from here. And I'm about to turn around, and for the more sensitive of you aesthetically, let me just warn you, this is ugly. It's not intended to be pretty. It also looks incomplete, and it's not intended to ever be complete. So without further ado, here we have the new base. So let's run in and take a look and see what all these areas are for. This is intended to be a production floor, and it's divided up into multiple 6x6 squares, and each square will have an apparatus for assembling a particular item, except for like the first maybe 6 squares here, which I will use for inventory and personal workspace. Or at least that's the intent. It may not actually work out that way. We'll just have to see. On this side, I have what I'm calling bulk materials production. This is where I can just put a line of machines that all work on the same general thing and spit out massive amounts of material. For example, if I was to go and take this first 5 wide area and put in cobblestone production, I could just put in a line of some sort of cobble gen, probably igneous extruders, all the way down. Then in the next 5x5 area, I could have another line that's doing something like pulverizing, and so on. I did go ahead and put in another level of this upstairs, so I can do the same thing up here. And if need be, I can add more floors. I can also add more of these bays, if you want to call them that, simply by extending the building out this way. That's why the building is incomplete. It's intended to be extendable in all three directions here. Actually, 4 if you count up. Outside here, I have crop fields. On this side, I'm going to go ahead and set up Ender IO crop fields, and over here, I will set up Mine Factory Reloaded crop fields. And the way these two systems work is a little bit different. They have different maximum and minimum field sizes. The Ender IO uses a single controller that's in the center, whereas the Mine Factory Reloaded crops use one machine that's in the center and others that are on the periphery. So I will be setting up MFR fields over here and Ender IO fields over here, and I can extend outward in 3 directions plus up for either of those as well. Well, 2 directions plus up. Below here, I have a basement, which you will notice lots of torches. I spread out all of these torches here to light it up. It doesn't need to be lit up for mobs, just for convenience. But this is for fluid and power generation. Probably I'm not going to bother to conceal any sort of pipes or conduits. I'm just going to leave it all out in the open. And so I'm not necessarily going to put pipes and conduits down here. It's going to be specifically for fluid and power production. So if I need to produce water to pump upstairs, if I need to produce power, which I definitely will, then I will produce that down here and send it up. So that's basically what we got going on here. And I need to go ahead and get my machines moved into here, and at that point you'll be able to see a little better what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and take another break and do that, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have my machine set up now in my factory. Right here we have the igneous extruder producing cobblestone, a pulverizer grinding cobblestone into gravel. If we come over here, we have a pulverizer grinding sand into dust. That's interesting. This one does sand too. I think it does both gravel and sand. It'll have to be expanded and changed so that I've got more stuff doing those things. Down here we have sieving for gravel and dust. Here we have pulverizing for ores, smelting of dusts. I have not hooked up the sag mill yet. And here we have processing of these items into ores. The way this system is all set up is the item conduits act as a sort of bus that all the items get put onto. Basically any item that comes into the system, and this production and distribution insertion point is a place to manually place an item, gets routed through the system to wherever it needs to be. If a place can't be found for it at a production station, it can come over here to all of these inventories that I set up. I set up a wall of compacting drawers and regular drawers to hold things. And this is priority -5. Normally, a production station would have a priority of 0, which is the default. So this is kind of a next to last resort. It's a relatively low priority. The actual last resort is this thing over here that says production overflow. This is a box that if there's no processing for something and there's no place to stick it in an inventory, it goes in here. And this serves as kind of a to-do list for things that I will need to find a way to handle. So right now I've got some nether brick in there, which I wouldn't normally be processing nether brick, but I manually inserted it into this container right here, which is processing all these dusts. It's just doing smelting. So that's an option too. If I need to do something a little bit manually, but I have a production line that does the basic action, smelting in this case, I can just stick it in one of these buffer chests and it will eventually pop out over here if there's no processing for it. But let's suppose that I had a lot of sand being produced and my inventory over here filled up with sand so that I couldn't hold anymore, and I'm a long ways from that. Then sand would start showing up here in the production overflow, and I would know that I needed to do something with sand, like make some glass or something. Right now, I am not producing enough energy. I did take and add 2 more crucibles, and so these 2 dynamos are running more than they were, but still not enough. I am going to have to, and I will probably do this between episodes, change out this lava for blazing pyrotheum and set up a few more dynamos, and that should fix my energy situation. These red conduits only transmit the amount of power that would be generated by 8 of these dynamos, so I will actually have to switch to a different type of conduit for power distribution at some point fairly soon, just so that I can run all the machines, because at some point I just won't be able to transmit the power. It won't matter how many dynamos I have. But that's probably a problem for another day. For now, I think I can get my power levels up to where I need them to be just by adding up to 8 dynamos and switching out this lava for something more efficient. Anyway, the last thing I want to do in this episode is get started on a farm, because I need to start thinking about the quests that come after the intro chapter. And so I'm going to have to produce 100,000 of something, and I have decided that one of the first quests I want to look at is the simplest of the food quests, which is probably this one right here, to produce blueberry smoothies. Blueberry smoothies require blueberries and snowballs, and a juicer which is reusable, so you only ever need one of them. But I'm going to need 100,000 blueberries and 100,000 snowballs. And the snowballs I will produce using a thermal expansion machine that produces snowballs. The glacial precipitator, I believe is what it's called. But I'm going to have to grow the blueberries. And to do that, I'm going to use Mine Factory Reloaded. I am not going to set the machines up in this episode, but I will show how I'm going to start the blueberries. These are Natura blueberry bushes. They will produce blueberries that I can use for this purpose. So I'm just going to plant a bunch of them here. This is a maximum size field for Mine Factory Reloaded, and I will have to set up some harvesters for these. I'm planting them all manually, so I don't have to set up a planter for them at this time. It'll suffice just to have harvesters, but I'm going to need to have harvesting on 3 levels. And it's a big field, and one harvester will cover it. If you get the biggest radius expansion, which is emerald, I'll go ahead and make one of those. But to actually cover it well, I'm going to need more than one harvester, and I'm going to need a separate set of them for each level that these bushes grow up. So I'm actually going to have to get 6 harvesters and set them up to harvest all the blueberries that I'm going to have coming in. In order to fill this field, I don't have enough blueberry bushes. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to let them grow, harvest them, and replant to get more of them until I've filled out the whole field. But the watering can will help with that, because if I take this watering can and spray it on these bushes, they will grow much faster. I can even come over here and jump on top. Already getting some blueberries. And so they're growing up to the 2nd level now. And if I just keep this up, they will keep growing up until they get to the 3rd level, like that one right there. And after 3 levels, they stop growing higher. But once I have a whole bunch of them here, and I'm ready to harvest them and replant, I'm only interested in the bushes at this point, so I can take any tool that will break these. I can just use a wrench, for example, and use vein miner like that and get them all. And I will have to go through here and plant these several times until I get this entire field filled. And you will see that next episode, when I will also have the machine set up and have the blueberries coming in. And one of the first things I will do in the next episode is to get that machine up and running to actually produce and turn in blueberry smoothies. So until next episode, I'm going to say goodbye now, and I will see you next time.